Good morning, and thank you, Bill, and it's good to see everyone. And Bill, you're very kind in complimenting what we're doing at CSIS, but really I want to compliment our panelists and thank you all for being here today. David's going to join us in a little bit. He's at another meeting, but he will add a lot to the discussion. I want to tell you a little bit before we get started about what CSIS is doing, why we got interested in food security. A few years ago, we started looking at the way the U.S. image abroad has eroded. It's eroded over time since World War II, when we had participated in a number of important global efforts to build institutions and be a global leader. Slowly over time, we felt like we had struggled in our ability to maintain our strong image. And we put together a commission on smart power, how the U.S. rebuilds its image abroad. It was co-chaired by Joe Nye, who coined the term soft power, and Rich Armitage, who, by his own admission, is no tender-hearted guy. So we took these two people together. We put them together with a large group of congressmen and thought leaders from across the country and came up with a set of recommendations about what the U.S. can do. And of those 5 pillar recommendations, one of them was really rebuilding our efforts on development. And then when the food price crisis hit in 2008, we felt like it was time to take a look at this important element of development in terms of ag development and food security and emergency assistance that had been kind of neglected for a while. So as Bill said, we put out a report in 2008. We were very fortunate to have strong leadership from Senator Casey and Senator Lugar at that time. They have continued to support our efforts and to co-chair our efforts. They were joined by Congresswoman McCollum. They have a set of legislation that's up. They're working on it, and I think that these are important efforts to make, and we want to try to support them. Right now, we are coming to the close of a series of discussions that are going to lead to a report that we'll put out in the next month or so, looking at some of the longer-term trends and issues. We focused especially on ag R&D, on trade policy, and on methods to boost productivity, especially in developing countries. So we will be putting that out in the next month, and we'll make sure that you all see that and look forward to your reaction. One thing that has struck me over the past couple of years is the argument about the role of food security, the role of hunger in security and stability. It's really difficult to define. It's really difficult to talk about. There's not a good logic chain that says, A plus B equals C, because you could have enormously devastating hunger, as you saw in North Korea, and it doesn't cause regime change. You can have countries like Haiti that are on the brink, and hunger and food riots are sort of the tipping point for regime change or for government change. And so when Bill asked me to do this, I was a little bit nervous about trying to come out and say, here's how the two things are linked. And I think the way we've approached this, and the panelists we have today are going to talk through some of the complexity of the issues, but really get at the heart of why hunger doesn't always lead to instability, but it certainly but having access to food certainly increases stability. There's no doubt that when people have enough food to feed their families, when they're in economically viable professions and they've got good work to do and they've got paying work, they're going to be more stable. So what we are going to set out to do today is, first of all, provide an overview. Dr. Chip Walker from USAID is going to provide some framing comments, talk about how the Office of Conflict Management and Mitigation thinks about stability and thinks about the role of hunger in stability. Where they're going to talk sort of about case studies, 3 countries that are just indisputably important to the U.S., that have indisputable security issues that are affecting the U.S., and how agricultural development and hunger play a role. We're going to start with Haiti. Johanna Mendelsohn-Foreman is my colleague at CSIS. She is a foremost expert on Haiti. She's studied Haiti for years, and she's going to Haiti is important for so many reasons. It's right in our backyard, suffering enormously right now, but has suffered from a long-term breakdown in the ag sector. She's going to talk a little bit about the forecast for Haiti and why it's important. And Haiti, as you probably know, was slated to be a priority country in the Global Food Security and Hunger Initiative that the State Department has put out. We're then going to turn to Yemen. Ellen Levinson has worked in Yemen for years and has a great deal of experience. She, as you probably all have had in your minds, in the Christmas Day bomber, or attempted bomber, was trained in Yemen. Yemen has a lot of ties with Al-Qaeda, has a growing youth population, a declining economy, very little arable land. And Ellen has spent, as I said, years looking at development in Yemen and the ag sector in ways that it could be enhanced. We're going to close with David Berteau, another colleague from CSIS. And David has probably the unlikely title of being the director of our Defense Industry Initiative. David spends most of his time talking about acquisition and procurement of F-35s and missile systems and how that all works. But he's one of the reasons I think CSIS is helpful in talking about this. He spent the past year working closely with the Department of Defense to understand what some of the lessons were that were learned in Iraq's economic development efforts that the U.S. had been through, how those apply to other places, how they apply to Afghanistan. We spend a fair amount of time at CSIS talking about Afghanistan and talking about the importance of the ag sector to having any kind of stability there. So David's going to talk to us a little bit about what he's learned and how it can apply writ large. And David actually grew up on a farm in Louisiana, so he's got some personal experience in this area as well. So I think that with that, I think we'll turn to Dr. Walker and look forward to your comments. Thanks.